People who watch this channel are continuously getting better and better at Warhammer. I'm getting so many messages. It's freaking awesome. If you want to continue getting better at Warhammer, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. We talked all about one of the most important parts of Warhammer last week. We talked about how to score primary, because most people do it freaking wrong. They had really bad strategies. So we gave you a lot of strategies of how to do it. So today is the flip side. It's actually a more advanced, higher level skill, but I think everyone is ready to learn it. So today we're going to talk about how to deny primary objectives. And this is a very freaking big deal because, well, here's just the reality, okay? People get confused by how to win Warhammer, right? They think about they have to either table their opponents or they have to score 100 points or whatever. But guys, you do not need to score 100 points to win Warhammer. You actually only need to score 1 point more than your opponent. So it doesn't even matter if you score 0 primary. If you score 1 point of secondaries and your opponent scores 0 primary and 0 points of secondaries, you win the game. So denial of your opponent's scoring is equally as important, if not more important, than your own scoring in a lot of scenarios. Now, this is a relatively high level skill, but I think everyone is prepared to learn it. So we're going to start breaking this bad boy down today. The first skill that I'm going to teach you is very, very obvious, and most people are going to grasp it, but I've got 7 for you. And the following 6 are going to be just mind-blowing. You're going to love them all right? So number 1, here's the reality. It's very obvious, but there are some nuances that I want to go into detail on for you. So number 1, take the primary. And this is clearly the most obvious. Assault armies really love it. And it's the way it works. If you have opponents standing on objective, well, you're going to charge, kill the enemy, and now suddenly they don't hold the objective. Yes, we understand this is the way it works. Or if you have opponents standing on objective, you're going to shoot them, kill them, now they don't hold the objective. But how do you do it if you have an opponent that you can't shoot off the objective? How do you do it if you have an opponent that you really can't charge because they have, I don't know, fights first, or they're wardens and they have a feel no pain? Well, you can also take the objective without killing them just by putting more OC on the objective. And I've detailed this several times in some of my previous videos, especially when you have really durable and really tough units, such as Custody Wardens who are led by a character. Well, they're going to be 3 wounds each. They have a 2-up armor save, a 4-up invulnerable save. When you charge them, they're going to have a 4-up feel no pain. It is chunky. They've got high OC. It's going to be a nightmare to actually kill them. Well, what you can do is just take a 40-point unit of Gretchen or a whatever point unit of whatever, like Chaos Cultist, it doesn't matter. And you can just put your objective, your bases on the objective, out OC them, and you have effectively denied the primary without even charging or shooting them. So this is another way of doing it. So that's the most obvious way to deny primary, but it gets a lot more detailed. So let's jump into it. Number 2 strategy that you want to maximize, or that you want to master and start using, is move blocking. Now, move blocking is a really critical skill, and I'm not going to go through exactly how to set it up in this video, but it is probably time for me to update my previous move blocking video. I think I've gotten maybe 5,000 new subscribers since the last time I did a move blocking video. So if some of you guys are struggling how to set up your move blocks, wait for that for later this week, where I get a really big in-depth video for how to set up your move blocks and why you're going to set them up in certain positions. And I'll use TTS to kind of put the placements and show you guys exactly how to do it. Now, here's the deal, guys. If your opponent never stands on objectives, they cannot hold it. I know it is a crazy thought process, but the way you basically do this is you're going to use your infiltrators, you're going to use your scouts, or you're just going to use super, super fast models in order to stand in front of your opponent's army. So let's say I go first and I'm playing, I'm just going to use Mordaka as an example because that's the thing that everyone's terrified of right now. Well, I can declare the Wa, and Zodgrod Wartsnaga can move like 21 inches and stand 1.1 inches away from your entire army, and you just can't move. You could also do this in every single Space Marines army, where you just, put your scouts up, infiltrate them, and advance them an inch away from your opponent's army. So in your opponent's turn, they can't move through your models, with some small exceptions. There are going to be certain strats that will allow you to move through models. There will be flying units that can move through models, but by far and large, you can't move through enemy models. And so when I take my 2 units of scouts and I stand in front of the opponent's lines, they literally can't move through me, meaning they can't touch the objectives, which means they can't score primary in turn 2. And if I have other fast-moving units, say jump pack assault intercessors, which could then do the exact same thing again in my round 2, because of course the opponent's going to kill the scouts. Well, in my round 2, if my jump pack assault intercessors do the exact same thing, I could say make it so they don't score primary in round 3 either. This is the concept called jail style list, and it works really, 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 really well. And just as another little caveat on this move blocking strategy, one thing I do want to mention is that many times when you're doing this jail type strategy, it's almost better to just stand 1 inch away from your opponent than it is to charge them. Because when you charge, well, then you're giving your opponent the opportunity to spike dice, kill you in the fight phase, and then still be able to move. Or even if they can't kill you in the fight phase, what they might be able to do is take a voluntary desperate escape or desperate breakout test, which means that they can just fall back over you. And as long as they don't roll a 1 or 2, they don't die. And now suddenly they get to the objective way sooner than you wanted them to. So just be aware that sometimes just standing 1.1 inches away in front of the enemy is a lot better than actually charging them, even if you're just charging things like transports and stuff. So keep that in mind. So move blocking is an amazing strategy to stop your opponents from getting primary. Let's talk about number 3. Now this one is going to be actually mind-blowing. Non-movement movement. And I see so many people, they are just victims to non-movement movement. There's a lot of different examples of it in the game. So the first one would be how pile-in and consolidates give a ton of movement that people really don't consider, especially if you have stratagems that can give you like the 6-inch pile-ins, the 6-inch consolidates, stuff like that. It gets absolutely bonkers. So what you can do is you can actually charge a unit that is not on an objective, kill them, and then consolidate onto an objective, therefore getting more OC than your opponent, so then in their command phase, they do not score the primary because they no longer have more OC than you did. Even though you never even moved onto the objective, you just charged and killed something off the objective and then consolidated onto the objective. So that gives you more non-movement movement. Another brilliant example of this is shoot and scoots. There's lots of examples of units in the game that after they shoot, they get to move, whether it's going to be flat 6 inches or D6 inches or whatever. So gargoyles, for example, from Tyranids are a great example of how to do this. Let's say your opponent is standing on an objective and you have to deep strike 9 inches away from the opponent. Well, typically you would have to try to rely on a 9-inch charge to actually make that, to get onto the objective and deny them primary. But with certain units, gargoyles, for example, they get to shoot and then they get to move. Now, when they move, they're no longer able to charge, but if they're moving 6 inches after they shoot, suddenly they are going to be able to deep strike in, shoot, move their distance onto the objective, have more OC than your opponent. Now your opponent does not score that primary in their command phase because the Tyranids player has more OC on it. This works for Tyranids. It works for a bunch of any unit in Space Marine that's led by a Phobos lieutenant. There are lots of examples of reactive moves in the game, and reactive moves or scoot and shoots, things like this, and this is one of them. Another brilliant way to actually ruin opponents' days is by regenerating models. So let's say you're playing against GSC or Gene Stealer cults, and you completely kill a lot of the neophytes, and you have OC 10, and he has OC 4 on the let's say he's got like OC 6 on the objective. So now you out OC him. Well, don't forget that in the GSE player's command phase, they are actually going to be able to regenerate models, 3 models, maybe 4 models, 5 models. They're going to end up with more OC than you, even though you previously had more OC, meaning you cannot score the primary because you score primary at the end of the command phase. And if they would regenerate, early, or you're no longer denying, sorry, forgive me, I reversed that. So you're no longer denying them primary because they are going to be able to regenerate the models onto the objective, meaning that they will score it. So you have to be careful about those regenerating models. They might not be able to deny, but they will be able to take the objective that you thought you were denying. So it is kind of freaking wild. You got to watch out for things like that. All right, kill the trash. Now, this might not necessarily deny your opponent's primary, but when you kill all of your opponent's really crappy, weak, trash units, you can force your opponents to leave those objectives defended by their critical damaging units. And when this happens, it's going to force them to expose those critical units because typically they're not going to be able to hide behind a wall. Or what's going to happen is those units are now going to be more or less useless, not damaging you. This gives you board presence, allowing you to score just a ton more. So it's not necessarily denying the primary, but this is a strategy that I love to use. If I'm playing against Imperial Guard, let me kill all their infantry, force their tanks to stand on the objectives and do the actions. Or if I'm playing against, Eldar, and I'm scared of the Incarn. Well, if I kill all of the weak little elf bodies, the Incarn has to hold objectives for them, or the Avatar has to hold objectives for them. This sucks. If you're playing against Space Marines, kill their scouts. Make that Dreadnought Redemptor, or that Redemptor Dreadnought, hold the objective. Don't let them hold the objective with scouts and then assault you with the Dreadnought, for example. Custodians is the exact same way. Kill their prosecutors, kill their freaking witch seekers, force their custode wardens to hold the objectives and not charge you. This is an amazing way really skew the primary balances. Then we have Battleshock shenanigans for number 5. Now, this is something that a lot of people are. I don't really understand the take where people think that Battleshock is useless. I understand everyone's had bad experiences with dice, but man, Battleshock is such an incredibly powerful mechanism in this game, especially if you have ways to modify the leadership or the OC of your opponents. So check this out. Let's think we're going to take it from Chaos Knights, Tyranids, Demons. These are probably the 3 best Battleshock armies in the game. Chaos Knights, if you're playing Index Chaos Knights, which I believe is called Traitorous Lance, as long as they've killed a single model, so your unit is under starting strength, you're going to be forced to take a battle shock in your command phase if you're within 12 inches of them, and it'll be at -1. This is a brilliant way to skew the math to force people to fail battle shock when they really don't want to be failing battle shock, because once you're battle shocked, now you're no longer holding the objective unless you have certain specific modifiers. Tyranids with Shadow in the Warp, they can make you -2 to your leadership with these Shadow in the Warps. Chaos Demons, they can exude an aura of Shadow in the Warp, or I'm sorry, not Shadow in the Warp, but whatever the Chaos Demons aura is, I forget what it's called at this moment. But when they're exuding their 6-inch aura with the greater demons, or if they have the Shadow of Chaos, that's the one, or they have the Shadow of Chaos in No Man's Land, well, suddenly you're taking your battle shock test at -1, and if you fail, you take mortals. So this is a very, very big way to skew the way that your opponent is holding their primary. You can also use this strategy not only for denying primary, but for denying secondaries. So let's say I have Dante in my Blood Angel squad. Well, Dante has a special ability that at the beginning of the fight phase, I have a 6-inch aura of every enemy unit must take a battle shock at -1. Well, if my opponent, say, has moved in to score area denial and they happen to be within 6 inches of Dante, boom, they battle shock. Now they don't score area denial. So that's a little bonus for you. It's not just about denying primary. It can also be about denying secondaries. So that's number 5. We got 2 more for you guys today, and then we're going to sign off. So we got denying sticky objectives. If you watched my first video, which was about how to score primary, you would know that having sticky objectives is one of the best ways to score primary without really having to commit very much. So we get to deny secondaries. You get to deny primary by denying sticky objectives. Now there is a trick to this that I really wanted to break down for you. When your opponent has a objective that is sticky, you have to put more OC on the objective than they currently have in order to take it away. So let's say your opponent has a OC3 tank sitting on the objective, but previously they had stickied it with, say, intercessors. If I move OC3 onto the objective and we're tied for OC3, I have not denied the primary because my opponent still has control of the objective because it was sticky. I would have to get OC4 on the objective to unsticky it and take control away from my opponent. So just be aware of that you actually have to take control of the objective, not just match the OC like you would on other objectives in order to deny it. It's a little bit in the weeds, but it's very, very critical. Ways to get rid of these sticky objectives, just remember, you just got to get more OC. You can use uppy downy units to do it. You can rapid ingress after your opponent moves off objectives, things like that. You can charge onto them tons of different ways, but you really do have to get more OC, not just match OC like you do with every other strategy. And then number 7, I want to talk about trapping the transports. You really want to ensure that when you destroy transports, your opponent cannot disembark on an objective, or you'll at least be able to charge the contents that do disembark. So let's say I have this impulsor right here, and I want to make sure that when I kill the impulsor, the units are not going to be able to get out on the objective, because then they will have more OC, and then they would, for example, score the primary. So if I'm going to shoot this transport dead, I have the Gretchen lined up in such a way that he will not be able to disembark on the objective. He's going to have to disembark off of the objective. Now, I know in this picture right here, I've got a lot of OC from the Gretchen, but pretend they're battle shocked. Whatever, it doesn't matter, right? Understand what I'm teaching. Don't worry about the exact picture, okay? If I wanted to say, let's say I can't really kill that transport, one thing that I could do is I could actually charge the transport with weak units and forcefully encircle the transport. And when I encircle that transport, now what's going to happen is my opponent won't be able to disembark at all in his turn. So you get to really deny not only primary, but your opponent's use of their own units. So even if you don't destroy the transport, but you charge it and you completely wrap your units around it, so there's no way they'll be able to actually disembark. Because remember, when they disembark, they cannot end within engagement range of enemy models. That is another great way to deny primary. So guys, in summary, you have take the objective from them. That can be either by killing them or by just getting more OC. You have move blocking, making sure they never even touch the objective. non-movement movement, where we're talking about reactive moves, scoot and shoots, things like this, in order to get more OC on your opponent's objective, even not in the movement phase. You've got kill the trash, because the second you kill the trash, if he has to hold objectives with his Wraith Knight, I think you're pretty darn happy, because that means the Wraith Knight is exposed and you're going to be able to deal with it. Battleshock shenanigans, whether it's in your opponent's command phase, whether it's in your fight phase, you can deny primary, but not only primary, you can also deny secondaries with it. It's very, very important for you to understand how Battleshock really works. You can deny sticky, and just remember, when your opponent has sticky, the reason why I included this here is that you have to get more OC than your opponent, not just match the OC of your opponent. Because if you just match it, they will retain control. You have to get more. That's why I included it here. Trap the transports, make sure they cannot disembark onto the objectives when you kill it, stuff like that. Guys, what did I miss? Were there any other really good strategies for denying primary out there that I missed? If I did, I want to hear it. If I did miss it, I want to hear it in the comments down below. I appreciate everyone's attention. Guys, the mission here on the channel is to make sure that we are raising the level of gameplay for basically all Warhammer 40k players. There's tons of content that is locked behind members only stuff for tons of channels that teach strategies. I'm trying to put it all out there free for you. If you would like to support my work, you can support me on Ko-fi, or you can become a YouTube member. The link to Ko-fi is down below, where I do offer coaching services, and you can join our members only Discord. The members only Discord is where we're talking about strategies in the game every single freaking day. We host TTS leagues to get everyone practice constantly. It is a great place to be, and I would love to see you there. Guys, until next time, crump on, and I am going to be hard at work and getting you more content, making sure that everyone gets even better at this game. Until next time, bye-bye.